Hello there. Welcome to the Digital Shelf Insider podcast of MetricsCart. I'm Shrestha and I'm back with another episode where we ask the big questions to some of the world's leading e-commerce experts. So we have a very special guest today. It's François Maingret, and he's a thought leader in the digital commerce space. He's the e-commerce department manager at Cleanis. I actually connected with François after reading one of his articles on LinkedIn, and he has a amazing newsletter series. It's value packed with data and insights. For me, it's just not about the data and insights. It's about the fact that he writes brilliantly because I've been a writer. I am a writer, so it speaks louder for me. Franca, I'll kick it over to you. You could do a brief introduction about yourself, and yeah, very thrilled to have you here.
Yeah, of course. Good morning, Shrestha, and thank you so much for having me here. Let me quickly introduce myself. My name is François, and I've not always been in the e-commerce space. I used to be an engineer for a couple of years in Paris for a big company. And as an engineer, I started a side project, completely different on weekends and at night. And I started my own brand of health supplements that I was selling online. And of course, I had to understand how to make a website or to advertise, all that stuff. So I started reading a lot of books about e-commerce, business, um, and my small business started to grow and kind of took over. I had way more passion for his small e-commerce business than my job as an engineer. So after some times, I got an offer in Dallas, Texas for an e-commerce manager position, and I am still the e-commerce manager at a company named Cleanis. In the medical industry, we manufacture and sell medical equipments. And on the side, as you said, I like to create content. I have my blog. I post frequently on LinkedIn, and I love these videos. I'm really passionate about e-commerce, and this is not only my day job, but something I do on the weekends and at nights. I really love these skills. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Awesome, just awesome. I remember you mentioning we are in the holiday season right now, right? So I remember that you mentioned a lot of product discovery happens during Christmas and New Year than Black Friday. What, according to you, are some of the seasonal trends at the shopper and as well as the brand and playing out during the season?
Okay, before I answer your question, I just want to say that Black Friday and Christmas are little different in terms of product discovery. Black Friday, you tend to look for stuff you need. For example, my TV broke down recently, and I'm in the market for a new TV, so I will look up Amazon, Best Buy, search for TV, and see what deals are there. Or people tend to look for stuff relevant to their interest. For example, if you're kind of a nerdy person and you like electronics, then you will go to Amazon and explore the electronics category. The Christmas is a little different because you might shop for yourself. I like to get myself a small thing for Christmas, but typically you shop for your family and your friends. And this is where you have to go outside of your comfort zone. For example, if you search for a gift for your grandma, then you might not get the best relevant recommendation directly. And this is where product discovery is a little more tricky. It's just not as easy when you shop for someone else. Now, going back to Black Friday, Christmas, all these sales events. On the shopper side, I think the main thing, and I know it's a little late because the podcast I think will be live after Black Friday, but I think this will be relevant for next year.
Yes.
Customer, they can expect longer period of time to shop. They will have more time before Black Friday, after Black Friday, before Christmas, which is great. Gives them more time to shop. They can avoid the busy stores. There is one problem I see, one big problem. You never know when you can get the best deal, because if you shop on Thanksgiving week on Monday, you might get 20% off. You don't know if the brand will discount the product 50% on Black Friday. And then if you see it at 20% and start to wait because you are hoping for a good deal, maybe someone will buy it from you and then it will be out of stock. So timing is a little tricky. Um, I think the discounts will not be as good as previous years. Maybe the data will prove me wrong. Maybe this is completely false, but I really think we will not see crazy deals like we saw during COVID, just because the brands they tend to focus more on profitability right now. And I'm thinking specifically the thousands and thousands of small brands. They don't have a lot of purchasing power. They buy stuff of Alibaba or companies in China, so they don't have the margins to give big discounts. And one last thing for shoppers, I think returning the product will be more difficult this year and in the future, just because reverse logistics and offering free returns is so expensive for brands that I think it will be more difficult for shoppers to return items in the next couple of years. Um, Now I talk about the customer side. On the brand side, I think the customer we have very high expectations. I don't know about you, but I know I do have expectations when it comes to Black Friday. Um, and we talk about product discovery. I think the key would be to show the right product to the right person at the right time, and especially during Black Friday at the right price. Now, this is easier said than done. Of course, it is very, very complex, but I think we can say that we are seeing a lot of improvements recently. For example, in my own marketing emails I receive from brands I like, I'm very, very impressed with the quality of the recommendation I get. I get emails and I'm like, yes, this is exactly what I need. How did they find out? So, yeah, showing the right product to the right person would be very important. Of course, we are talking about business and sales period. Supply chain is key. If your goal is to move out inventory, that's a different story. But if you want to generate revenues, you need to make sure your products are in stock and available. I have heard some reports of supply chain being a little difficult with Amazon FBA. So brands need to be prepared. The brands that were not very prepared this season will suffer, I think. And the last advice, and I give this advice every year on LinkedIn, is when your brand, you don't have to participate in Black Friday, you don't have to participate in Pride Days if it does not meet your long-term strategy. Now, if you don't, you still need to monitor your competitors, because if they do discount their product, you will be impacted. So you need to keep that in mind.
Right. So there are two things I would pick from here. One, that you said that Black Friday and Christmas shopping is very different patterns. So Black Friday, can we say like they come with a set pattern that, like you said, the TV example. So maybe they come with the choices themselves that, okay, it's either Apple or Samsung. I'm not going to, sway away and
Yeah.
discover new products. But when it comes to Christmas, it's more about gifting season, and then they're looking for options there, right?
Correct.
Right. And the second thing that when it comes to the BFCM strategies of brands, they actually don't have to have it in place and compete with the competitors if they are not in the line, right?
I don't think they should if they don't need to. I mean, in some industries, for example, the luxury industry, you don't want to compete on price. Um, or sometimes you just don't have the margins. Why would you give huge discounts if you will take a loss and never get it back? If you don't think the customer, if the customer will buy from you at a discount and you are losing money on these sales, and you don't think this customer will come back to you in the future to buy full price, there's no point in discounting, in my opinion.
To make sense. Uh, so, like I mentioned before, Francois writes extensively on LinkedIn, and very recently he published a 40 plus page report. And I am picking apart from it, which is the Abercrombie and Fitch's success story, how well they decoded customers' mindset and adopted new age trends. Could you tell us a bit more so our audience get to know?
Yeah. So one of my favorite thing when about business and e-commerce in general is to see the very clever innovation the brands can come up with. And Abercrombie and Fitch, I'm not very familiar with the company as a customer, but recently I started doing some research because they went from the most hated retailer
Right.
in America. This is a great, crazy title, right? Most hated retailer in
Yes.
America. I think it was in 2016,
Yeah.
and now their stock price is going up, and they're doing so great, especially in e-commerce. And the innovation I like the most is that I have this brand Hollister, targeting mostly teenagers with I think 13, 14 years old kids, where these teenagers they like to shop, but they don't have the credit card, don't have the
Right.
bank account to complete the transaction. So what the brand did, they came up with this great feature that allows the teenagers to put stuff in the cart, and then they can send a link to their parents so they can validate the payment. And I think the way they imagined this process and they understood the role of each generation was so clever. I really liked what they did. And this is the type of innovation that makes me understand why the company became so successful because in my opinion, their e-commerce strategy right now is so good, and I think other brands should get some inspiration from Abercrombie and Fitch. And I'm not affiliated with them. I get no money from them. I'm just saying I love what they did here.
Yeah, that's so cool, right? Like being able to tap into what exactly each generation wants. And one of the ways to do that and digital shelf metrics is through reviews. And at MetricsCart, we give a lot of emphasis to our brand manufacturers that they should definitely monitor and analyze reviews because it helps them with the product developments, whether it's the short-term ones or a long-term ones, or with their ad campaigns, choosing the terms which the consumers closely relate with, and a lot more. So, what do you think about this particular digital shelf metric for, enhancing a brand's performance?
You're saying how to leverage reviews
Right.
for brands?
Yes.
What, what, well, the reviews, I think you made a very good point. I think the reviews are literally a gold mine for marketers. There is so much to take from the reviews. When you I don't know if you ever had your own business at some point selling physical product, but when I was looking at the reviews every single day.
Yeah.
Um, the first thing you see, either as a brand or as a shopper, when you search for stuff online, is the ratings. This is basically how many stars you have.
Mhm.
For example, on Amazon, you get between 1 and 5 stars.
Yeah.
And I think, for example, in the US, if your product has less than 4 stars, then there's something wrong. We need to investigate why am I not getting a better rating? What's wrong with my product?
Yeah.
Is it too expensive? Is this the quality issue? Um, and if you get a low rating, then you need to look at other indicators. Just so you know, and it took me a couple of years to find out and traveling to multiple countries. But for international brands, the reviews depends on the culture. For example, 5 stars in the US means the product meets your expectations,
Yeah.
but 5 stars in France, where I'm from,
Mhm.
is the product exceeds my expectation, is perfect. So it really depends on the culture. A 5 in the US will not mean a 5 anywhere else, so you need to keep that in mind. Uh, and another thing, I think this one, the brands, they sometimes miss out on this one, is how many reviews you get.
Mhm.
Obviously, the more sales you make, the more reviews you will
Reviews
get.
you get.
But if you sell thousands and thousands of products and you only get 1 or 2 reviews a month, there's something off here. And in general, the more reviews you get compared to your sales means your customers are very engaged with your brand. Like, for example, if let's say you're on vacation and you go
Mhm.
to Starbucks at the airport, you don't really care, just expecting your coffee and to move on with your day. But your favorite coffee shop in the corner in your neighborhood, you have some emotional attachment to this place, so you are more likely to leave a review. And I
Right.
think emotional attachment, especially in the age of Temu, Shein, Amazon, is very important.
Mhm.
And the more emotional attachment you can create, the more valuable your brand is. And I think how many reviews you get in comparison to your sales is a very good indicator. Now, the one I think you were expecting, this one is the content of the reviews.
Yeah.
This one is the most important because this is how you learn what your customers think of the reviews. It's not the only way. You got social media.
Yes.
For example, I saw at my company some users on TikTok reviewing my products. That was very valuable too. But the reviews are a very good source
Mhm.
because you can figure out what they like, what they dislike about your product, ideas for improvements. Something big, you can understand who is using your product. Um, for example, let's say you sell protein bars for bodybuilders, and you're selling this product for months, even years. And one day you look at the reviews and you see people saying, "Oh, I love this product. This is so great. Want to go hiking?" And then you see another person saying, "I love hiking and I always carry this product."
Yeah.
Like, wait a second, was I targeting the right
Audience.
person?
Yeah.
So maybe you need to pivot from marketing towards bodybuilders to hikers, and then you will be way more efficient with your marketing budget. And about the content of the reviews, I think Amazon is doing something amazing. It allows people, customers, to post pictures and videos with the reviews. So I think this is great. For example, in the fashion industry, if you sell a jacket, then you can see how the jacket looks on your customers. I think it's going to be very valuable because when you develop a product, of course, we'll miss a few things during product development. But looking at the reviews, the content, the pictures, the videos, you can really spot the mistake you made and correct your strategy. So just look at all the indicators, not only the content, but the rating and how many reviews you get. So you can basically adjust your marketing strategy and target the right customers. I think the reviews are super important.
Makes
And
sense.
and one other thing I want to say, we have the issue of fake reviews.
Oh, yes.
Uh, yeah, I think
It's
that's a
rampant.
big problem right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, the customers, I need to be careful, and I think as a customer, you need to really look at the reviews and not just how many stars. If the reviews feel fake, if it feels like it was written by ChatGPT,
Yeah.
there is something off. But as a brand, yeah, you want to maximize your reviews and avoid the fake reviews because it will damage your reputation. And I know Amazon is starting to work on that and work with the FTC to remove these fake reviews. But this will be a long process because the scammers, they always have some advance over the brands.
Right. Right. Uh, so we spoke about one of the digital shelf metric. Now, when it comes to the other digital shelf metrics, what are the most common challenges that brands face when monitoring them?
When monitoring this matrix, I would say it's more of a process. There is many steps involved.
Right.
Uh, as a brand, the first thing you want to do is make sure your product is available at all time for customer to purchase. And as I said before, with the Black Friday example, if your product is out of stock, then good luck generating revenues.
Right.
I think this is very important for any brand, but especially in marketplaces like Amazon, because on Amazon, when you are out of stock, not only you miss out on the sales, you also start to see your rankings drop. And when your rankings drop and you are back in stock, not only you miss this time period where your product was out of stock,
Yeah.
it will take a while for your rankings to go back up.
Yeah.
And sometimes they don't even go back to normal. Sometimes the competitors, they have such a massive advantage that
It takes a
your
long
product is
time.
not dead, but yeah, you will never recover its market share. Um, on the other hand, like if you are monitoring your competitors and you see that your big competitors, the one company you hate and you want to take over, they are out of stock, that's such a big opportunity for you to do something and steal the market share from them.
Right.
So that's the first thing, making sure your product
Available.
is available. If it's in stock, that's good news. Now it needs to be easy to find for customers, and I'm talking product discovery. And this is ad hoc rankings. You need to monitor the rankings on marketplaces. I think this is very important. Make sure you maximize your organic rankings. And for those of you who don't know, the organic rankings are the rankings not generated by advertising. This is when the customer organically finds your product.
Right.
Why is that so important? Is because it does not rely on your ad spend.
Mhm.
Advertising is very expensive and keeps getting more expensive over time. So you want to maximize your organic sales, and organic rankings are very important. Not saying advertising is not important. I think advertising is key,
Yeah.
especially today because it's so competitive. Um, so you need to monitor where your product is placed and just monitor how much you spend on advertising, how much you generate in revenues. And of course, the last thing is relevant both to organic and advertising is the keywords. You want to be on the right keywords and see where your competitors are, so you can adjust your strategy, product discovery. And I think this is a big part of this podcast is very important today because the marketplace is so crowded with thousands of brands. We see new brands every day, so you want to make sure your customer can find your product.
Right. So, brands, if you're listening, availability and organic ranking are the key. Since we spoke about organic ranking, do you think that it act if the brand ranks organically well, it helps in the long-term growth?
Oh yeah, yeah, of course, yeah. I think it does. If you look at Amazon and you can track this with tools like Helium 10, you can see that the top competitors dominating a category, maybe they're starting advertising heavily, but at some point they generate a lot of their sales with their huge organic rankings,
Right.
especially when they reach the top five in one category. And doing so, they give them a huge advantage because they don't rely as much on advertising. They don't need to spend so much money on advertising. So they have better margin. They can decrease prices. They can develop new products. So I think organic rankings is super important on every marketplace, not only Amazon, but Walmart or anywhere else. Really. Everyone's taking off rankings and stock status, but I think you also want to make sure your content is super important. Your content is once customer find your product, you need to make sure you show them the right pictures, the right descriptions, the videos, because companies they like to update the product, and you don't want to, as a customer, you just want to buy something, see a picture, and then receive a slightly different product, maybe the new version or the old version. And you also need to make sure that your content is the same across each platform. You don't want to show one version of your product on Walmart and a different older version on Amazon. And I think this is very important because some brands they have 5, 10 SKUs, they can manage it, check it every day.
Yeah.
But
When it's in
for
thousands, it's just crazy.
yeah, yeah. So at some point you need some good software to make sure you keep track of your content and everything that creates across every platform. And the last thing I want to say is pricing. I'm talking about this one specifically because I'm seeing a lot of issues with pricing in my job because I'm managing an Amazon account, a pretty significant account, and we sell through distributors. Pricing consistency is important, not only for the customers. Of course, it's important. You know, as a customer, you don't want to look at 5 different platforms before you find the best price. Unless that's part of your strategy, maybe that's a different story. But in general, you don't want huge variation between each platform. I think this is especially important when you work with distributors because if you have a distributor violating your map policy,
Right.
this is bad. All of your other distributors you work with, they will see the lower price as something unfair, and not having prices consistency and detecting this violation can really damage your relationship with your distributors. So chef monitoring, I think it's the whole process from product discovery, showing the right product, pricing, supply chain. I think this is huge. And for brands with 3, 5 SKUs, this is fine. At some point, I think you really need to invest in good monitoring tools.
So right now we see that low cost shopping is a new high among shoppers. So the beta version of Amazon Haul launched just ahead of Black Friday. What do you think is playing out here? Was it a tactful move among the Amazon folks, or what is it exactly?
Yes, I know you were telling me about Amazon Haul.
Yes.
I'm sure you see my recent post on LinkedIn. I think that's why you're asking.
Yeah.
Mm. Have you tried it, by the way? Did you get a chance to try Amazon Haul?
It looks very cool. Like it's made for all the generations, and I like the fact that they use the word haul there because it's very relatable to the haul videos we've been seeing from the influencers. So it's very strategically placed there.
Everyone, I think everyone was expecting something more business-like, but I think Haul is the perfect word.
Yeah.
Uh, I didn't know what Amazon come up with, but I think they did great
Yeah.
with this one. So I think someone commented on my LinkedIn post. Was it on LinkedIn? I think it was. Yeah, they asked if it was a plan for Amazon to come up with Amazon Haul just before Thanksgiving, Black Friday.
Yeah.
I don't think it was. I don't think that was strategic for Amazon because right now it's not the optimal version of this feature.
Right.
Their assortment is too small. I don't know if you noticed them. We really don't have a lot of product, especially if you compare it to Temu.
Yeah.
I think the user interface is pretty bad. I didn't like it at all.
Yeah.
But I think Amazon wanted to come up with this a minimalist version of Amazon Haul. They wanted to show something to the customer, what was possible.
Yeah.
And I think for customer, this is a great alternative to Temu, especially if Amazon can really expand their product assortment. No, I don't like Temu. I don't like Shein. I don't like that stuff. I think it is a very unsustainable business model just for the
Yeah.
environment. Where I live, I see Shein, Temu packages all the time. And it's crazy how much people spend there. They order so much time
Yeah.
because of the price. So not a big fan of it. But I think it can bring value to the customer just because um, you basically have a choice between ordering from Amazon FBA in the US and get your product the next day,
Yeah.
but then you will pay a higher price. Or now you can order from Amazon Whole and pay a much lower price if you are okay waiting. I think Amazon says about 10 days,
Yeah.
can be 2 weeks or even shorter. And I'm really expecting to see a lot of overlap between Amazon US, the classic Amazon everyone knows, and Amazon Whole. So if you shopping for something, you can compare two options, see which one is cheaper. Do you want fast delivery? Do you want low prices?
Yeah.
So I think giving the customer option is great. Now for brands, especially American brands sourcing from China, I think this is really bad news
Yeah.
because they will be competing with all of these items from China at super low prices.
Right.
Uh, and we have the questions of tariffs. We don't know what the next US president will do next year. I think as of today, they are talking 10% with China. So maybe this will change in a couple of weeks. We don't know yet. Um, but I think, yeah, for US brands sourcing from China, this is especially bad news. And especially if they don't have a strong brand. If they have a strong brand people care about, no problem. If they are competing directly with Chinese suppliers, I think they're in big trouble.
Yeah.
I think the big question for Amazon will be not how to build Amazon Whole. I think they have great software engineers. They can figure this out. They can get inspiration from Temu, from Shein, from these Chinese websites. I think the big question will be how to work with sellers. And not only for Amazon, I think this will be a big question next year for every marketplace, how to attract suppliers. It's really hard as a supplier or as a third-party sellers to work with Amazon or Temu because you are really squeezed on your margins. And of course, Amazon, they want to offer the lowest possible prices to their customer. So I think attracting sellers will be a challenge for Amazon. Now, if they succeed, I think Amazon Whole, I see some potential for sure.
Wow, that sounds like a lot to unpack, as well as a loyal store for brand manufacturers and digital sellers in 2025. Um, Finally, as a seasoned e-commerce strategist, what are some of the key challenges that you are foreseeing for brands next year? And what steps would you want them to take so that they can address these issues and kind of, achieve the kind of organic success on e-commerce platforms?
Well, again, it's hard to tell for every brand because every company is different and everyone will have different challenges. And I think the big one is about the basics, having a strong and unique brand that delivers value to the customer. And I know that's business 101, but right now we are stuck with thousands of businesses selling commodities or a company with a unsustainable business model or even companies that do not deliver any value to the final customer. No, I wrote about it many times. I think competing directly with Temu, Shein, or just the millions of Chinese suppliers selling directly to the customer is a great way to fail. And we don't know what will happen next year when Donald Trump will become the next president. But it's not crazy to think the tariffs will increase. And many people think that only Shein and Temu and the Chinese company will suffer. But so many companies here in the US are importing from China. And right now, they already have low margin. They just cannot afford to see their cost of goods sold increase. So my advice is just to focus on selling something unique that makes the customer life better or solve some problems they have. And so they are okay giving you their money. You don't want to engage in price war. And I think more than before, brand need to sell product that customer want at the price high enough to be profitable. Now, on a more technical aspect, I think cost control would be important because many customers are complaining about the economy and are looking for bargain. Now, I say that brand need to justify a price that works for them, but brands cannot be completely unreasonable with pricing. And I feel like customers they are more willing to make concession on some aspects. For example, we used to think that with Amazon, the customer wanted to get their stuff the next day, and that was their priority. And now we realize that the customer they buy a lot from Shein and Temu, and they're okay waiting 10 days, 15 days for some items if they can get a good discount. So I'm not saying to cut on quality or anything, but sometimes you can make compromises on shipping or maybe even on returns. There's a lot of companies cutting returns, as I said before. And yeah, just focus on the basics, figure out why the customer buy your product, what they truly care about, and where you can maybe compromise a little to reduce cost and keep your prices reasonable. Now, as I said earlier, the reviews, that's an amazing source of information. I think there's so much to learn from the reviews. And even from social media, UGC is huge. You can see a lot of people reviewing products on TikTok, and I think that's great for brands. But I think 2025, that will be a tough way for many brands and very difficult. But I'm excited to see what strategies and innovation the winners will use to stay ahead of their competitors.
Wow, interesting. So we've come to the end of our session, and thank you so much, Francois, for your time and energy. It was an interesting chat, and I'm sure our audience would feel the same. We would love to have you for a similar conversation on a different topic, on a different time, maybe a different episode. So, or like a season, I meant. So, yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for your time. Now, that's the end of our episode. If you love what you just listened to, you should check us out on LinkedIn. We have our newsletter series there. We also have our newsletter series via email with super exclusive e-commerce insights. This podcast is also on Spotify and Apple. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe here on YouTube. Wherever you're listening from, you have a great day, and we'll be right back with an awesome guest next week.